One of the trends coming out of this year's Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas is, in a word, big. Heard on the streets, Dan Gallagher is here to talk about the mushrooming phablet market. Dan, what exactly is a phablet and why are companies so enamored of it?
Well, phablet's the nickname that's arisen when you talk about something that's a cross between a phone and a tablet. We're talking about essentially smartphones that have a screen size that are 5 inches or higher. The Samsung Galaxy Note series is actually the most successful in this category. They just put out their third iteration over the fall, and that's actually what's garnered the most sales. But we're seeing a lot more companies really push into this area. What we saw at CES was Huawei and Asus, neither of which have been really major players in smartphones before, coming out with new phones in this series. And we've also seen recent launches from Sony, from Samsung, from LG, even BlackBerry put out a phone this size. It doesn't seem it sold very well, but there's a lot of companies that think this is where there's some growth left in smartphones.
Is this sort of at odds with what seems like, and it's funny, it just came up because we're showing some pictures from the conference, and one of the things I noticed was one of the watches, and you think about the watches, you think about Google Glass, you think about things going small. Is this sort of a counter trend to that trend, or are these things moving on parallel lines?
They could be moving parallel. I think the appeal of a larger screen is obviously it's easier to do things like type on, and people who like to watch videos and shows and consume that kind of content, more screen real estate helps with that, offset by the fact that it can be inconvenient. The bigger the screen, the harder it is to manage with one hand, especially even to talk on. So there's some trade-offs. You know, what the data I found that even though this is a growing category, phones of this size still made up just in the fourth quarter in the U.S., only about 15% or so of smartphone sales. Most of the sales are in the 4 to 4.5 inch space. That's actually where the iPhone sits. So there's a conventional wisdom that Apple needs to go to a bigger phone as well. But as we're seeing, it's a niche. It's a growing niche, but it's still kind of a niche right now.
Yeah, you jump started my next question, which was going to be about Apple. Apple doesn't make a watch, doesn't make the glass, doesn't make a phablet. How do they respond to all this?
Well, it's been rumored all last year. There was rumors and reports out of the supply chain in Asia that Apple was trying to work on a phone of a larger screen size. A lot of people expect the next iPhone is actually going to bring a bigger screen. We don't exactly know how big that's going to be, if they're going to go as big as something like the Note or smaller. But it's something I think they're working on. They realize that they need to respond to where the market is going. At the same time, they probably don't want to try to copy too many, and we're obviously seeing mixed success with the iPhone 5C. So Apple's strategy of kind of keeping the iPhone at a single model, they're obviously, I think, starting to consider ways to broaden out the iPhone line.
Yeah. All right, Dan Gallagher, excellent stuff as always. Thank you.